Hey there, beautiful seeker. So welcome to Shift Talk, where I talk. This time I'm going to answer one of my seekers' question that I thought was super great and important and answering it could really help many of us. And this is from Fox Force 5. Kudos to Pulp Fiction, Uma Thurman, the scene with John Travolta. Yeah, I know. So Fox Force 5, this is your question. Is it possible to live smoothly, transitioning between altered states? How do I operate and smoothly shift between both? I feel myself getting stuck in one or the other too often. What an important, perfect question. Okay. So welcome to the channeled challenge, great Morgane, of basically every spiritual warrior, shaman, mystique, sage, you name it, that goes through the journey of spirituality and altered states of consciousness and shifting between our own inner human condition, because our life here is about the universe or the divine, or so theory goes, experiencing itself through the separated aspects of itself. I always like to say that the number of truths are like the number of sets of eyes, right? So everything is truth, just a matter of perspective, and we just one big web of experiencing this life, each of us from our own point of view. So the entire aspect of connecting to the collective consciousness and to divinity is being able to tap into different states of mind, altered consciousness, shifting between points of view, human condition, and so on. Basically being somewhat of a shapeshifter, okay? Now, how do you do that without losing your mind, without losing yourself, without losing the anchor to this 3D, to this physical existence? So, welcome to one of the biggest hiccups of the spiritual community. Now here's where it starts, okay? A lot of us could say that it's a matter of escaping reality, or only wanting to focus on the positive aspect of life. So we kind of, and this is what 3D people who are not spiritual will say sometimes about spiritual people, right? The reference of living in La La Land, hippie, in the negative connotation, all the hoo-ha, new agey, all that. And when they say it in sarcasm, they do it because of the element of detachment that some spiritual people in spiritual communities can have. And the thing is, it's not a lie, and they're actually not wrong, because a lot of the spiritual community, all of us in a way, basically, we're not as much as into the spiritual living as much as we are in the escapism of a very difficult reality. A lot of times we escape to positivity and mantras, positive thinking, manifestation, spirituality in general, because it's very hard to deal with our reality, our 3D, our life. Now, does it mean that spirituality per spirituality is false? No. It means that the way we go about it is partly false and is at times more so of a bypass than it is a going into. I always say the only way out is in, right? The only way out of the misery and of the suffering is by going into it. I don't teach on my channel how to escape your reality. That's not the type of spirituality that I teach. The opposite, I teach how to deal with your reality, how to live your reality, how to love your reality, because your reality is not a prison that is detached from spirituality. It is the foundation and the basic and the infrastructure of spirituality. It's a part of it. Now, where it actually starts is in the intentional way of how spirit pushes us to be spiritual. And don't worry, I'm getting to the point. This is getting to the point of how to live, how to not lose yourself, and how to stay grounded and transition between altered states and not stay stuck and have a more smooth transition. I'm getting there, okay? I just need to give you background to understand. So initially, the way we are getting to the world of spirituality is by having a very difficult reality. We are being installed with the will, or more so the need, to find somewhere else, because where we are hurts too much. If everything was perfect in my childhood, for example, maybe I wouldn't be so curious and linear towards seeking other realities, other truths, expanding my consciousness, because I'd be busy in my very happy, lovey, comfy, safe reality. But if to give myself, for example, which I know many people can relate to, whether they remember it or not, I didn't like being a child, not because I didn't like childhood, but because I didn't like my childhood. I didn't like home, I didn't like school, I didn't like most of it, and for my personal reasons. It was very, very hard for me growing up because of my personal circumstance, right? And I found myself at a very early age going into books and stories and movies and myths and fairy tales, and I've become a poet and a writer and a storyteller and a performer and an actress and an astrologer and a tarochi, and I just become so engulfed in other worlds. Now, of course, it had the element of, it just touched me, it touched my heart. But I would not probably discover it if I wasn't pushed away from my reality. You can look at it as running into spirituality, but you can also look at it as running from your physical, mundane, difficult reality. So we escape as children from situations that are hard for us emotionally and psychologically, and we find ourselves in the spirit world, in the dream realm, in lucid dreaming, and in, investigating extraterrestrials and the planets and the stars and different aspects of the occult, and we try to figure out our past lifetimes and all that. And sometimes it doesn't come from childhood, sometimes it happens at a later stage in our life. But many times we are pushed into spirituality and awareness from trauma and tragedy. In the most difficult, think back, in the most difficult stages of your life, of loss and grief and pain and fear, you have found such truths about life and about yourself that you would not have discovered if it weren't for that pain that pushed you there. So that's a good start. It's how it normally happens, and that's great. The problem is when we stay stuck there and forget to go back to deal with our reality, because exploring the other realms is so much safer, because the dragons there can't really burn us, but it's super cool to think about it, right? And the extraterrestrials are fascinating, but they don't do to us what other people do to us, or what, God forbid, parents, or if whatever difficulties you've encountered throughout your life. In the imagination, everything is possible, and you always survive, and you always prosper, and you always fly, because there's nothing you can't do there. So detachment, denial, those start when we go to spirituality, great, but then we don't come back. And we hold on to that world, to these worlds, as if they are the only world, and we forget about planet Earth, our own life. We just don't want to face it. But that's not spiritual. Spiritual is going there, investigating, but then coming back and living by it and trying to copy paste the understandings that we have from the other worlds and from our research and exploring to the daily life that we're living. It's about making our life here, this life, this physical experience, better, prosperous, free, safe, inspiring. This whole poor artist, starving guru, martyr. None of those are actual spirituality. It's all bypassing. It's all denial. It's all escapism. And normally, that is when it's super hard for us to alter from states of consciousness, because our experience of the spiritual and energetic realms isn't coming from we have climbed the staircases and went through the floors of the building of our spirituality, of our existence. It comes from we fire rocketed ourselves to the 16th floor and skipped all the basic stages, and now we don't really know how to stand. Or it's all very shaky because we didn't go through the floors, making sure that everything sits right and that can really hold this foundation, this structure of spiritual growth and expansion of our consciousness. How will you be able to alter from the 17th floor to the 12th floor, to the 20th floor, to the 8th floor, to the 1st floor, and so on, if you skipped all these basic stages, if you're not living also your physical life? So you either get stuck super up there, right, where you found a shortcut, maybe through an altering states of consciousness, plants, right? It's great to have marijuana every now and then to remind you of the flow. But when you always do that to be in the flow, when you always depend on something exterior like this rocket to get you there, you don't know how to go there yourself. So then when you drop from it, you get stuck in the first floors and you don't really know how to climb back or to move properly because wait, where am I? Where's my shortcut? Meditation? Yeah, not all meditation is real meditation. Some meditation is just detaching and not wanting to deal. Meditation is going within, how you truly feel. Not be like, la la la, I'm not thinking, I'm not knowing, I'm not seeing, la 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 la. No. If you find yourself stuck in states of consciousness and having a hard time transitioning, and you find yourself stuck here or stuck there, it means that the foundations of each of those altered states of consciousness are not set right. They're shaky. So they keep dropping you off from one to another. The way to transition smoothly and shift your consciousness in a safe, calm, flowing manner, where you just tap, is by making sure the foundations of your reality are super strong and stable. If you go for a week of a spiritual retreat because you don't have enough money in the bank for food, for rent, and you can't handle it and you don't know what to do, so I'll just go and meditate for a week and whatever. That's where you're going to find yourself falling. Those are the moments when you need to stay and figure it out and find a way to make the money that you need in order to pay rent or to eat. If you tell yourself, I'm not going to eat, I don't need to take care of my nutrition, the body is nothing, it's just molecules. I mean, it is molecules, but you're not experiencing yourself as molecules, right? You are walking with this flesh, and if someone hits you, it will hurt you. You're not going to be like, I'm just molecules, I didn't feel it. Oh, you felt it, love, you felt it, okay? Cute. So, if you tell yourself that, I don't need to eat. I don't need to take care of myself. I don't need to make sure that my diet is healthy. I don't need to exercise. I don't need to tend to my body and my general health. It's all about divinity anyway. It's all about energy. It's all about the mind. The mind really changes its moods if it doesn't have nutrition and specific vitamins. Lack of proper nutrition, lack of vitamins, you can become depressed, moody, angry. That's not spiritual. That takes you away from spirituality. Healthy mind, body, and spirit. It's all a synchronization. So first sign is that something in your physical reality, either your daily safety, emotional, subconscious, psychological, connection, relationship, family, these mundane things that are sometimes perceived as non-spiritual, but they are the most spiritual because they are the building blocks for spirituality. They are the protein for the muscle, okay? If you feel like there's lack of stability where you find yourself either stuck there or stuck there, go back immediately to your physical reality, your physical health, your stability, your paperwork, your taxes, your licenses, all of these technical Virgo-esque things. Immediately go to the energy of Capricorn, Virgo, Taurus. And then from there, work on your spirituality with having that balance. Can you imagine the scales of the balance scale without the foundation that holds these two scales? Will just drop. Something in the infrastructure needs tending to. Especially if you have extreme states of consciousness. If when you go there, you go super high. If you really lose yourself in other lands, that's how people lose their mind when they don't have an anchor to bring them back. If you feel like you don't have that anchor to get you back, abort immediately all spiritual new age stuff and just focus on your stability in this physical life. I teach people spiritual expansion, but I teach you real spiritual expansion. Not the shortcut, not the escapism, not the bypassing, but really going through the stages. So when we're getting there, and it's a journey that you're going through with me in the existential shift. Right now, I'm at a time in my channel where I'm really, where's the candle? Oh, there you are. Where I'm really focusing on bringing people back to ground zero. Because I know that the spiritual foundation is off because we skipped stages, because we were traumatized as a collective by many things, personal stories, collective stories, all that fun stuff that are not so fun that we can experience. And with all the information and the new age that is great and is good, but some of us are using it and are taking shortcuts using plants, which I'm not against, by the way. It's just a matter of the quantity and the way. It's like any other medicine. And please understand, plants have character. It's always a reciprocity. Everything is a balance of give and take. A karmic cycle. A plant gives you something, an altered state of mind, takes you somewhere. You also are obliged to give it something. And sometimes you're not in that state not in the communication channel to be able to understand fully what the plant is taking. Now, no shade on the plant. It's just doing what it's doing, but it's doing it naturally. It communicates energetically. It tells you the way it tells you. We just don't always understand. But something is given, something is taken. So when we overdo it, hallucinogenics, marijuana, and again, no shades on those plants. They're healing, they're medicinal, they're beautiful. They give you power, but they're taking something, and you can't develop dependency on those. So same for tarot, and same for astrology, and same for numerology, and same for meditation. You can't overdo it. You have to think for yourself as well. Not every question go to the cards. Not every question. Think, sit with yourself, think. And if you realize that you have no freaking clue and that you can't get to any conclusion, that you have to have an exterior source to help you out, that's another big sign. Not necessarily to now read all the books that might give you an answer, but to work on your health. Or to be like, do I have enough income for the things that I need? Am I feeling safe? Am I feeling healthy? Am I feeling good in my connections? Is there someone I need to apologize to? Is there someone in my life that I know needs to apologize to me, and just being around them hurts me because it makes me feel like an idiot for spending time with them? Those little things that are not so little. Emotional well-being, physical well-being, psychological well-being, balancing all of those, that will allow you to go back to the spiritual state of mind and super shift and transition smoothly. And that would be super real. So to conclude, I want to, because immediately I thought of Carlos Castaneda's Tales of Power with this question. I don't recommend reading this book before reading his prior 3 books. The Teachings of Don Juan, and then Altered Reality, and then Journey to Ixtlan. Ixtlan, it's written in English, never mind. But it's a series of books by Carlos Castaneda about the teachings of Don Juan. Look, if you're any sort of spiritual warrior, shaman on the journey, it's like a Bible. I really recommend it. And specifically in Tales of Power, but seriously, if you're going there, go for it. But read the other 3 first. Read them chronologically. Of course, I can't tell you what to do, but I recommend it as part. Let's just say if you skip to this, then you'll just do the same thing that keeps you in a difficulty of transition between stage to stage, because what is it that you're doing? Again, the shortcut. Again, not having the base foundations to be able to understand fully what is written. But in Tales of Powers, he speaks of, I'll give you the short end of the stick, of the Nagual and the Tonal. And that's terminology that's just terminology. There's many other ways of calling it and referring to it, but basically it's what today we refer to as the 3D and the 5D. The Tonal would be the 3D, the reality that we're familiar with, what we see. And the Nagual would be the 5D, the altered state of consciousness that is outside of the matrix. Okay? And the way you go about it is by first, what Don Juan does there to Carlos Castaneda, who is like his seeker, his student. He first pushes him to the world of the Tonal by presenting a Nagual, like the 5D, that is so intense and insane that he just can't handle it. He escapes right back to the Tonal, to the 3D. It's like a reverse psychology. It's like scaring the shit out of him with like extreme states of consciousness by shoving hallucinogenic plants into him that makes him see like other worlds. It's just scared the crap out of him and basically makes him beg to Don Juan, I don't want this anymore. I just want to fix my life. So he fixes his life. And he creates a 3D, a tonal that is so strong and grounded and powerful that from there it is so extreme, and then he recalls the other aspect of life that he experienced. And now he just naturally, not even cognitively, just naturally feels grounded and safe enough to go back there and explore. And I don't want to ruin it for you guys, but basically it's kind of where Don Juan just drops all the hallucinogenic and all the plants helpers, and then gets Carlos to explore these other states of consciousness, but naturally, from his own consciousness, from his own mind, from his own heart, from his own energy, just looking in between the gaps, looking in between the lines, in the void, in the space between the numbers. The 3D would be the numbers, the 5D would be the void between the numbers, okay? And then there's full room for the 5D, for the Nagual, because the tonal, the 3D, was pushed so much to a condensed existence that is so clear and so strong and so tight. It's like half of the circle of existence. It wasn't like sporadic and random here and there. It's tight where it's supposed to be within you. But then life isn't all about that, right? But once it's tight first and foremost, then there's the other cycle, the other half, that is completely void and empty. Thus there's room for the Nagual to show itself in this circle that is called, in the cycle that is called you and your life and your existence. But first, strengthen your 3D seeker. I know most of you out there has probably went and explored. And some of you are great and you have good, strong foundations of existence. Good. But a lot of you, and this is why I keep talking about the physical reality on my channel and about the 3D and the importance of reality, because I know where the collective stands right now. And because we're going towards a major shift and a major leap, it's more important than ever for me to really encourage you to focus on your 3D reality. Because you're going to start jumping higher and higher and higher and higher. I want to make sure you have where to land. Right? That's why I loved this question so much. So thank you, Fox Force 5, for this. I might even turn it into a 13th element on my channel. I don't know. Anyway, guys, comment your thoughts. Let me know if it helped you and what you thought. If you have a question for Shift Talk, drop it in the comments. I got Fox Force 5's question from my recent Shift Talk about the Earth split and the transition to 5D. So that's where they asked me this question, and if you want me to answer any of your questions, so drop it in the comments, and I will do my best to answer you. Oh, this went longer than I thought. Anyway, I needed to give you strong foundations to first understand why. FYI, I'm drinking turmeric milk with honey, non-dairy milk. In this case, it's vanilla soy, and I've started doing that every night, and it's a lot of fun. I just heat it up in the microwave, and it's just fantastic. Anyway, thank you for being here, and